Hey there everyone, this is Frog and welcome to Think On It, the series about theories. My last On the Fence video we talked about whether or not the NFL is rigged. Today we're taking a peek at another NFL related topic, but it's also mixed with a video game theory. I'll give you a second to guess what it is.
Or just look at the title of the video.
That's right, it's the Madden Curse. What is the Madden Curse, you might ask? Well, attentive viewer, let me tell you. The Madden Curse is a concept that's based off of the video game series Madden, which is the NFL video game series. Generally, what it does is whoever is on the cover will have a bad year, generally resulting in an injury that keeps them out throughout the season. There are players that openly admit that this theory doesn't exist, Drew Brees and Tom Brady being two players specifically. Both respectively have been on their own Madden covers, one in 11 and one in 18. However, looking at the covers throughout the years and the history behind the players of that season in the game, it's kind of hard to debate whether or not there is some kind of something going on. There are like 20 or so different Madden games, each with a different player on the cover, and going through them will be tedious and exhausting. However, it's unfortunate to admit that in order to understand the full length of this curse, I kind of have to go through all of them. But I will make it quick for you. I do need to let you know though that in order to be on the Madden cover, you had to have had some kind of outstanding year the year prior. So all the players that are on the cover generally are fantastic players. I can't exactly give you the stats because that would take too long. We'd basically be here all day if I give you the stats of every player. So this is just a rundown of what happened in that year that they were on the cover of the Madden game. Between 1989 and 1998, it was John Madden that was on the cover, who was the coach that the game is named after. Madden 99 had Garrison Hurst. That season he had an ankle injury which resulted in him missing 2 full seasons. Madden 2000 we had Barry Sanders on the NTSC version. Just before the start of the season, Sanders ended up retiring altogether, so he never even played in that season. Levens had a pretty impressive year as a running back, rushing for over 1,000 yards. He did, however, have an injury in the playoffs. Madden 01 had Eddie Georgie. He had to fight through the pain of a toe injury that basically followed him throughout his entire season. This resulted in him having the worst season of his career, one which he never really came back up from. Madden 02 had Dante Culpepper, who had a back injury in the 11th game of the season, causing his season to end rather abruptly. Madden 03 had Marshall Faulk, who had an ankle injury, which caused him to miss 5 games. His stats were never the same since. 04 had Michael Vick, who had an injury within the preseason, caused him to miss 12 games in the regular season. By the time he came back, the team was already unable to be in the playoffs. 05 had Ray Lewis, who is the first defensive player that has been on a Madden cover. He didn't catch a single interception that entire year, and his team missed the playoffs. 06 had Donovan McNabb, who suffered through a sports hernia throughout the entire season. He was able to play through 14 games until he eventually had to stop to get surgery after it was agitated. 07 had Sean Alexander, who broke one of his metatarsals in one of his feet, which caused him to miss 6 games. The curse carried on with him in the next year, where he ended up getting injured again and finally was cut from his team. 08 had Vince Young, who had a quadriceps strain when he was playing against the Buccaneers. This caused him to only miss 1 game. However, this also eventually made him lose his starting job. 09 had Brett Favre, who was suffering through a shoulder injury the entire season. However, after getting an MRI, we find out that it wasn't too severe, it's easily fixable. By this time, however, his team has already missed the playoffs, and then thus Brett Favre would retire for the 2nd time in his career. We're almost there, we're almost there. Madden 10 had Troy Polamalu and Larry Fitzgerald. Polamalu strained his MCL, causing him to miss most of the season. The next game back, he tore it again, and he had to miss the rest of the season. Fitzgerald had a pretty impressive run that season, however, he did get injured in the playoff games. Madden 11, the first Madden game where the fans chose who was on the cover, had Drew Brees. Brees injured his knee earlier in the season, however, he didn't miss a single snap. He kept playing throughout the entire season. He eventually did lose in the playoffs against the severely underdog team, the Seattle Seahawks. Madden 12 had Peyton Hills. He suffered from all kinds of different injuries and problems ranging from strep throat to a hamstring injury, causing him to only be able to play in 10 games. He was never the same since. Madden 13 had Calvin Johnson Jr., who defied the Madden Curse altogether. He not only didn't ever get injured, but he had the best season of his career, actually breaking Jerry Rice's world record for most reception yards in a season. Madden 14 had Adrian Peterson, who, through an off-field situation, caused him to only be able to play one game in the 2014 season. Madden 15 had Richard Sherman, who did not miss a single game throughout the season, but was playing through an injury. He ended up spending the off-season healing from his surgeries. Madden 16 had Odell Beckham. He missed one game due to having 4 personal fouls against him against the Carolina Panthers that year. Madden 17 had Rob Gronkowski. He was plagued with injuries all the way from the preseason on, being able to play just limited snaps throughout a little bit of the regular season before just being put on injured reserve altogether. His team did, however, win the Super Bowl that year, but let's not talk about that. Madden 18 had Tom Brady. He had a fairly Tom Brady kind of year, and ended up going into the Super Bowl. He did, however, lose against the Philadelphia Eagles, not being able to get his 6th Super Bowl ring. See, that wasn't too bad. Alright, now after all that though, let's talk about some of this. I have a couple gripes with this theory. First of all, it seems rather inconsistent to me. 05 Ray Lewis had a fantastic year, an average Ray Lewis kind of year. The only problem is that he didn't have an interception and he didn't go to the playoffs. Playoffs are important, but they're not curse-worthy unless you're talking about the Browns curse. Not to mention, interceptions in his position are just secondary stats, not necessarily something to plague a season over. Madden 2000 had Barry Sanders, who yes, did retire. It wasn't due to any kind of injury or any on-field situation that caused him to retire. He just decided to hang it up. Drew Brees was the cover of the Madden 11 game. He happened to not miss a single snap throughout that season, even with a knee injury. The only thing that you can really say is that he lost to the Seahawks in the playoffs. Madden 15 with Richard Sherman, it was the same way. He didn't miss a single game throughout the season. Madden 16 with Odell Beckham, he did miss one game, but it was nothing to do with any kind of curse or injury. It was all basically just his personality was the cause of the conflict there. Madden 18 with Tom Brady, he not only never got injured throughout the season, but won MVP of that year. But I gotta say, the one with the most evidence against this theory is Madden 13 with Calvin Johnson. There is absolutely nothing you can take from his season to say, see, that's the Madden curse. He even beat Jerry Rice's record for most receiving yards in a season that year. Taking all this into account, plus all the ones that actually do seem more like a curse, it's roughly 1 out of 3 players per cover that seems to get affected by the curse. To me, the inconsistency of that curse speaks louder than the people who believe that the curse exists. Another factor that should be looked at is just how many injuries there are per season. Football is a highly physical sport where injuries are just bound to happen. Plus, when you take into account that there are 4 preseason games, 16 regular season games, and then 5 weeks of playoff games. I'm bringing this up to basically say it's not exactly a needle in the haystack idea where the person that's on the cover is a 1 in a million chance. It could appear that the curse hurts players that are on the cover more often, but that also, I believe, is more of just us looking at the player more often than another player. Our focus is on whoever's on the cover, so if something happens to them, we will see that. The odds of a person being injured throughout the season, plus taking into account how many players are on the field at any given chance, how many snaps there are per game, blah blah blah, football stuff. All this just shows that it really isn't uncommon for a player to get injured throughout a season. To me, the Madden curse as a theory is just that. I think, to me, if there was a curse, it would be a lot more evident and a lot more consistent. There would be a lot clearer of a track record for it. Kind of like with the Superman curse. Now, I'm not saying I want anyone to get severely injured or die, but what I'm saying is to call something a curse, it needs to have that level of consistency. I'm not saying that there isn't anything special about being on a Madden cover, but I am saying it's more of just a matter of the perspective of the situation. But I do want to ask you guys, do you think that there really is a Madden curse, or do you really think that's just where our focus is at because they're on the cover of a video game? Is it all just a coincidence? I love hearing and looking up theories, so let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. If there are any other theories that you know of, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to look that up so we can get some videos going. If you liked this video, be sure to share, subscribe, and check out my channel. I release new videos every Saturday, and for you gamers out there, I also release Let's Plays regularly. Thanks again, guys, and see you next time.